All right, first and foremost, we need to make sure everybody is properly stretched. Now, the first thing you may need to do before starting any stretching regimen or any exercise regimen is consult with your doctor. If you have existing injuries or are at risk for them because of any conditions you have, we don't want you getting hurt. So, talk to your regular physician, make sure that you're okay to be doing these kinds of exercises. Take them to the videos if you need. We could always use the page views. But don't just rush into this. Make sure that you're okay. Watch the video first before trying to do any of this stuff. Make sure you've got enough space. And always remember to stretch. We stretch first to make sure that we don't get any injuries. If we get an injury, it doesn't mean we can't stretch. It means we can't do the fun stuff. Now, for any commenters, because this happens to be the internet, who want to just sit around and say, hey, look, the guy in the video is fat. Too late. First, beat you to it. Yeah, I'm fat. We done now? Okay. Let's get to the stretching. We're going to begin with a basic short leg stretch and then a long leg stretch. Most of the stretches we're going to be doing here involve using them on an 8 count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We usually do 2 8 counts, one on each side, so that we can get a full, adequate stretch in each of these areas. After the long leg stretch, we'll do a specialized groin stretch. Put one hand on either side of the leg, look at your knee, have a nice little staring contest with it. Then switch to the other side and do the same thing. After that, we do something I call the twist and lunge. Twist over the knee, put both hands, at least your fingers, down to the floor, then twist forward, stretch the side. Twist to stretch the back, lunge to stretch the side. Now we break this one up with another stretch, which stretches the opposite side. Take your elbow, after you've put your hands behind your head, point it towards your knee, and bend as far as you comfortably can. Here we'll show it from the opposite side so you can get a good look at both sides of the stretch. Next, bring your feet together in front of you. We'll do one more back twist just to make sure that those lower back muscles are appropriately stretched. This one we like to call the butterfly. Two ways to do it. The way you see on the video, where you just make your knees move on their own while holding onto your ankles. The other, more intense way is to press your elbows to your knees and push them down. This here is the forward stretch that we follow up with after the butterfly. This is one version of the ankle stretch, rotating the ankle with your hand. You do both directions, just make sure you get an even stretch. I don't consider this necessarily the best stretch, however it is useful. Here, we're doing a little bit of acupressure, recommended by my sword master at the V point between the two major muscles that we call the ball of the feet. There's pressure point. Pounding on it a little bit is supposed to relax your leg muscles, which is very good for this next stretch, meant to stretch the outer muscles of the leg. I do not recommend anyone with knee problems doing this stretch. Here we see the opposite side. Acupressure. When you do this stretch, you want to be holding on to the side of your foot, so you pull it in towards you. And you want to support that knee because you're going to have to try to get it as straight as you can. Again, if you have leg problems, knee, ankle, hip, do not do this stretch. and then a crunching toe touch afterwards to finish it up. Basic toe touch. We've all done these in gym class, and oh, how fun gym class always was, yeah? Here we're going to do the turtle roll. As much as possible, hug your knees together and towards your stomach, but don't constrict your breathing. And you're going to roll back on a slower 8 count. This is to stretch out and loosen up the spine. Now note here from the side view, we only go back to the shoulder blades. We do not roll back onto the neck. Why? Because research has shown that that can lead to temporary or permanent, severe or mild paralysis, so we're not even going to risk it. After the turtle roll, do as much of a comfortable split as you can. The split is not the important part of this stretch. This is a side stretch. And once more after the sides, we'll do a forward stretch. Here you can use finger strength to pull yourself deeper into it. Once we stand up, we can do one more side stretch. Yes, I know, the shirt flies up. This one we like to call the old man. You stretch down for 4 part of the 8 count, and then you stretch up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and if you're doing right, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here we like to call the SpongeBob. If you've watched the early episodes of the series, you'll know why. You'll want to bring it around town as much as you can while keeping your head and your feet in the same position from start to finish. Doing this stretch slower is more effective. My Tai Chi master would always say that you'd have to imagine a shish kebab holding your feet and your head in place while the rest of your body moves around it. Gruesome, ain't it? Here we'll do the basic shoulder stretches. For this one, if you have a shoulder injury or any kind of malady in that region, do not do these stretches. First we'll do the basic across the chest, then we'll reach behind. Try to give yourself a little back scratcher between the shoulder blades and pull gently on the elbow. Even if you don't have an injury, you don't want to overdo these. Here we're going to focus on my preferred ankle stretch. Balancing on one leg, make sure that you've got your knee bent to maintain balance properly. Roll your ankle under its own strength, back and forth, 8 count for each direction. Then we'll rest the big toe on the floor, pivot around the point of the big toe, and rotate them in 2 more directions. Lastly, put all your toes to the floor. Don't force it too hard, but try to get a 90-degree angle if you can. Or stretch the sole of the foot. Then place the tops of toes on the ground to stretch the top of the foot, especially good for kicking martial arts. And finally, you'll place the side of the foot and lean gently onto it. Here we pivot on the big toe again. Stretch the sole of the foot. Stretch the top of the foot. And stretch the side of the foot for those pretty little side kicks. Here are the wrist stretches. First half is very easy, but for the second half we have some warnings. The up and the down. Very basic, don't pull too hard. The wrist stretches can be very risky if you overdo them. Here, having your palm facing you, you grab the thumb side of the hand and you gently pull. You make sure to wiggle the fingers. I'll explain why in a moment. The opposite direction, palm facing out, grab the pinky side of the hand and pull, wiggling the fingers. The important point about wiggling the fingers, this wrist stretch is a fencing stretch to make sure that you can handle that sword very cleanly, easily, and quickly. We wiggle the fingers because if you are able to wiggle your fingers while doing that twist stretch, that means you haven't pulled too far. You are still safe. If you are unable to move your fingers, you are pulling too far and you're running the risk of damaging your wrist. And I shouldn't have to tell you, but I'm gonna. If you damage your wrist, it stays damaged. It is one of the worst healing parts of the body. This is a Tai Chi finger stretch. Again, we must be very cautious. Grabbing the last bone, the last point of the finger, right around the fingernail. You gently pull and work in a slow circle. Gently pull. There is a possibility of pulling the finger apart if you do this too hard. Ideally, you want to spend 30 seconds on each finger. That's for beginners. Once you get used to it, you can spend 10 seconds on each finger. It is very time intensive, but it is very useful for anything that requires fine finger movement, especially sword martial arts. And don't forget the thumbs. Here, another stretch you shouldn't do if you have shoulder problems, but if you're capable and your doctor says it's okay, give yourself a good shoulder roll. Next, do a bit of neck work. Don't do this too fast or too forcefully, but this trains you first to snap your head in different directions when facing multiple enemies or when facing a competition that's very intense. The neck roll should be done so that the mouth is closed when you get to the bottom point and open when you get to the top point, so you get the best stretch out of it. Next, we like to call a Superman stretch. The gesture with the arms in front is just a timing mechanism. Feel free to avoid it if you don't like it. Step forward, pull the shoulders back, and stretch the pectoral muscles across front. Last, before our intense preparation, we shake out all the muscles so they're nice and loose. Finally, we're going to be doing Korean jumping jacks. Korean jumping jacks come in 4 steps. First step, jump out, feet out like a normal jumping jack, but hands parallel to the ground, just straight across. Then jump back in, then jump up, clap the hands over your head, and jump back down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, this may seem like 2 jumping jacks to people who are used to the American style. That is why it is a good workout. You're basically doing twice the work. Now, for an added challenge, if you want to check your body's point-to-point coordination, on the clap, don't just clap your hands together over your head. Try to get your fingers to tap each other. The palms won't touch, just the fingertips. If you can manage to get that while we do the jumping jacks, you're going to improve your body's point-to-point coordination. Normally, these jumping jacks are done in a set of 20. I'm not going to make you sit through that much of my bouncing around, but you can watch a few examples. Lastly, we do a quick breather. Just pull the shoulders back, similar to the chest stretch, so you have nice open lungs, take a couple of breaths, and call yourself relaxed. Now that you've fully stretched, you can move on to the regular practice, but always make sure to stretch before doing any exercise.